this video I want to show you how you can convert between micrometers and millimeters. But to begin with, we need to explain what a micrometer actually is and when you would need a micrometer. So if we take a centimeter, which we all recognise, if you try to use a centimeter ruler to measure a cell, it just wouldn't work. Cells are just far too small. So if we was to take a red blood cell and try to use a ruler to measure it, one, you won't be able to see the red blood cells, but you certainly wouldn't be using centimeters. Even millimeters wouldn't be enough. Millimeters are far too big. The cells are much smaller. So small you cannot see them with the naked eye. And if we were to try to fit red blood cells into a millimeter in a line, we'd find that we could actually fit 143 of them side by side. We still won't be able to see them because the line would be far too thin anyway. So 143 red blood cells would fit into a millimeter. And that just means a millimeter is not a good unit of measurement to measure the size of cells. And so if we did divide 1 millimeter by 143, we'd actually find that each red blood cell will come to 0.07 millimeters. That's quite a tricky number to deal with when we're talking about cells. So this is where millimeters come into play. What we do is if we was to take a millimeter, we could then start to divide it up into lots of small sections. So basically making a ruler within this millimeter space. And each little section would equal 1 micrometer. So a micrometer is going to be much smaller than a millimeter. And if we was to keep adding these little sections into a millimeter, we could keep doing this until we were able to fit 1,000 of these little sections in, 1,000 of these micrometers. So 1 millimeter can be divided into 1,000 micrometers. So, how does it help us? Well, if we now use a scale with lots of micrometers on, we'll find that a red blood cell would fit into 7 micrometers, and that's a lot easier number to handle than 0.007 millimeters. So how do we convert between millimeters and micrometers, which you may have to do that a lot? Well, millimeters to micrometers, you've got to make a much bigger number, so multiply it by 1,000, because 1,000 micrometers fit into a millimeter. So if we take 3 millimeters, we can simply add on some zeros to 3 millimeters, and then it's a case of moving the decimal place to the right, because we need to make this number bigger, more micrometers than there are millimeters. So 3 places to the right and we end up with 3,000 micrometers. If we have 2.2 millimeters, add some zeros on again and move the decimal place 3 places to the right, and you will have 2,200 micrometers. If we have 0.08 millimeters, move the decimal point 3 places to the right. So 0.08 sounds a little bit trickier, but it's not when you just move the decimal place, and you get 80 micrometers. Conversely, if we now want to convert micrometers into millimeters, we've got to make that number smaller because there's a lot of micrometers into a millimeter. So now we divide that number by 1,000 to make it smaller. So if we take 4,000 micrometers, all we now do is move the decimal point 3 places to the left, and that will give us 4 millimeters. If we have 1,800 micrometers, again the decimal point has to move to the left to make the number smaller, and we have 1.8 millimeters. Now we try a trickier number, 40 micrometers. What we should do is stick a couple of zeros on to the left hand side, and then it's a case of now moving the decimal point once more 3 places to the left, and we have 0.04 millimeters.